When I first started getting credit cards, like my first credit card was the Chase Freedom. And that was because I banked with Chase. So actually, most people wouldn't get that for their first credit card because Chase normally seems to want a year of credit history before they issue a credit card to someone. Most people start with like Capital One or Discover. But then actually my second credit card was Capital One because when I got the Chase Freedom, I started getting loads of junk mail from Capital One and Discover and stuff. So I was like, oh, I might as well get this too, help build my score faster. But as I looked into all these cards, it really became apparent that there were very definite like tiers of, where these cards fit in. Like, for example, a Capital One card is really very much a starter card, no annual fee, doesn't earn any rewards. And then there was another tier above that, which were cards that they don't have an annual fee, but they do earn some sort of cashback rewards. They're a little bit harder to get, like the Chase Freedom, right? And then you've got another tier up that has an annual fee of about $100, right? And then there's another tier above that, which is $450 annual fees and up. And then you've got another invitation-only tier that's like black cards and stuff. So it really became apparent that pretty much every credit card I would encounter could fit into one of these 5 tiers that I sort of made up in my mind. So I did a video about it. That video for some reason was really successful. I don't know, maybe people just like the idea of like progressing up a ladder and, they want to see what tier their credit card is in and stuff. People like that kind of thing. They like knowing where they fit in and what level they're at and stuff. And it also helps you to understand, whether you should be applying for a certain card. If you're basically in tiers 1 and 2, don't expect to get approved for a, tier 4 card yet, until you've built your credit score to at least above 700, something like that.
Can you talk through those tiers?
So the credit card ladder. So tier 1 generally would be where you're going to start if you've never built your credit before. Something like the Capital One Platinum is a great card to start with. This one, we actually had a photo put on it. Capital One used to have a thing where you can put a photo on the card. It's my wedding photo, but you can see that anyway, the logo, it doesn't normally look like this, but Capital One Platinum, great card to start with, what I'd call a tier 1 card. It doesn't give you any points, anything like that. All it does is it will just help you build your credit. And typically they give you at least a $300 limit. That's kind of like the starting credit limit is $300. Put something on auto pay. Put your Netflix subscription on that card and then set it to auto pay so it always pays it off every month. Doesn't really matter how much money you put on it because you're not getting any benefit in terms of points. You're getting things like some liability protection as well, which is also another reason why it's great to use a credit card. Especially if it's like an online purchase and you haven't bought from that merchant before or something like that. But so that's tier 1, Capital One Platinum. There's also what we call like fee harvester cards in that tier, like a CreditOne, for example, First Premier Bank, which are cards that they're aiming at people with bad credit. They tend to have higher fees and stuff and be a bit of a ripoff. Although for people who've damaged their credit through, irresponsible habits, they may be like a last resort kind of card to get. So that's also down in that tier.
What would a typical fee be on that?
Well, those cards, often they won't necessarily have an annual fee, but what they will have, there's a really tricky practice that certain cards do, maybe not as much anymore, but it's like not having a grace period. So as soon as you make a purchase on the card, you get charged interest straight away. Normal credit cards, you have to wait until the statement closes. And then there is a period of 21 days, at least 21 days, where you won't be charged any interest as long as you pay before the due date. But some of these, what we call fee harvester cards, they start charging you interest as soon as that purchase hits your account. They also charge fees for, some of them charge an annual fee. Some of them are hard to cancel as well. Like people complain, I made a video about them, how bad they were. And I had lawyers from CreditOne actually send me a cease and desist letter to get my video off YouTube.
You're aggressive.
Yeah, it's aggressive. You see what I mean? And like, I actually did delete it. If it was now, I probably wouldn't have. But at the time, it was about 4 years ago, when I first started, I was like, oh man, I'm just starting this, having success. I don't want to deal with a lawsuit or something. So I took it down. But they had no right to do that, really, because it's a review, it's journalism. But anyway, let's go on to tier 2. So tier 2 is something like the Freedom Flex, a card with no annual fee that does earn some kind of rewards. Normally these cards are cashback cards. And then we get to tier 3, which is normally where the big points earning opportunities are. So tier 3, this is the AMEX Gold. This has an annual fee of $250. So it's a little bit at the top end of tier 3, but originally my tier 3 was just like $100 annual fee, but now there are so many cards that go a little bit higher than that. I updated it. So 100 to 250. And this earns a big sign-up bonus. I think at the moment it's like 75,000 points. But it also has some great earning categories, like, earn 4 points per dollar on dining, supermarkets, etc. So that's tier 3. Other cards that would fit into tier 3 would be, say, the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I have the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. That's a $95 annual fee. So that also fits into tier 3. This had a big sign-up bonus, 80,000 points 2 years ago when I got it. So yeah, tier 3 is generally where a lot of people hang out because the annual fees are like manageable. It'd be like $100 annual fee. As soon as you get into tier 4, excuse me.
Just to hit pause here real fast. So tier 3 would be middle America, correct?
Tier 3?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say the average person who's not really meticulously trying to squeeze every ounce of value out of it would probably want to get most of their cards from tier 3 because the annual fees are not too high. They're around $100 a year. And then when you compare that with, like, say, this business card, 80,000 point sign-up bonus. So that's the first 8 years paid for,
So tier 3 would be, most likely the lowest barrier to entry with someone that has at least reasonable credit.
Yeah, so you would need, typically in tier 3, you need to still be around 700. So really, tier 1 is like the credit builder cards. Tier 2 is kind of like your second step. And then tier 3, after about maybe 8-9 months of credit building, you can probably apply for a tier 3 card. Typically, once you're in the upper 600s, like 690, 700, you can apply for an AMEX card. You could start with one of the ones like the AMEX Everyday card, maybe. And they typically give higher credit limits. American Express, for some reason, they give higher credit. Like my first American Express, I had a $10,000 credit limit, which is crazy because I had credit limits of a few $100s before that. But yeah, and then it's a great stepping stone. And then we have tier 4, which is, I personally have 2 tier 4 cards at the moment. So these both have an annual fee. I think it's $550 on both of them. You really got to do the math to work out whether it's worth it for you. I actually used to have a rule, only one tier 4 card per person in our household because they're just so expensive. So this one, I actually might cancel it this year and not renew it or downgrade it,
And some of those have upwards of $5,000 or $10,000 buy-ins, correct?
That would be tier 5. That is the Centurion. So
I don't want to jump ship here.
Yeah. So tier 4, these are not invitation only, but you have to have a pretty good credit score and generally quite high income as well to be approved and also for them to be worth it.
What would that ratio be, Ben?
Well, actually, this one, so the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I put down $40,000 as income, and this was in 2015 or 2016. They approved me with that. I'm surprised because that to me is not a particularly high income. This was basically before I started my business and stuff. But
lower than annual household, yeah.
Exactly, that's lower than the average. The average is like 50 to 60, isn't it? Depending on whether you go with a median mode or whatever kind of average. But yeah. Whereas I don't know, when I applied for this one, I put down a much higher fee because that was this year that I applied for this one after I've done had a successful business and everything. But for any tier 4 card, you generally need to be around the median household income, around 50 grand or something to get approved for it. Yeah, I would say it's not totally about income because a lot of it is about your credit score. Like if your credit score is good, but your income's not that high, you can probably still get away with getting a tier 4, premium credit card. But once you get to tier 5, they're looking for high net worth individuals. It basically doesn't really matter what your credit score is, as long as you're up to a certain standard over 700. They're just looking at your income. Yeah.
Invitation only, right?
Invitation only. Exactly.
Talk about those. Those are really sexy. Let's talk about them.
Yeah. The AMEX Centurion black card. And the AMEX and the Chase, what's it called? The Chase used to be called the Palladium. Now it's called the JP Morgan Reserve card. JP Morgan, Obama had that card actually. He's been seen buying burgers and fries with it. And yeah, They're invitation only cards. The JP Morgan Reserve, you have to bank with JP Morgan Private Bank. So you got to be Chase private client and then get into the JP Morgan private banking, and then
what, $10 million minimum assets, right?
Probably their guide is $10 million, but I think they let a few people in who are a bit lower than that, but you have to be a high net worth individual no matter what. But yeah, it's more of a status symbol. I think people in the entertainment industry do get some genuine value from the AMEX Centurion, because these are people who travel around a lot and stuff. And there's things like they will have a rep meet you at the airport and take you through a special security line and stuff like that. If you're someone who's constantly traveling, that could be a really great benefit, actually. And I remember interviewing a guy who had the Centurion, and he was talking about, he wanted to buy some like Bulgari watch, right? And he was seeing it on a cruise ship. And then he phoned up the Centurion rep and said, hey, can you look around and check the prices of this watch for me to see if I can get a better deal elsewhere? And so the rep, checked the prices, and he came back to him and he said, okay, I got this price from this dealer, phoned up a load of luxury watch dealers for the guy. And then ultimately the guy knew, all right, I am getting a good deal because it's duty free on this ship.
It's ultimately like a concierge service, correct?
Concierge. Yeah. But the thing about concierge is, for average people with the internet, you don't really need concierge anymore. The only reason you might need it would be people wanting these really obscure things like, calling up luxury watch dealers to check a price, or, these things.
Definitely abnormal.
Yeah, exactly. Abnormal. Getting a reservation at a restaurant that's normally booked up a year out or something like that. Amex reserves a few tables at certain restaurants, this kind of thing. Yeah.